All right, everybody, welcome. It's Simchas Torah. It's after Simchas Torah. So we're out of beer. Yep. We have plenty of other alcohol, so you guys are always invited to help us finish on Shabbos or Sunday or Monday. Okay. We're Chabad Alcoholics Anonymous. All right, so chapter 7 is really continuation of the topic we started in chapter 6. In chapter 6, the Alter Rebbe is talking about the forces. Do me a favor, you don't also monitor make sure it's still recording, because sometimes this earpod slips out of my ear.
No problem.
No, I'm saying, and I hit it, and it's
you look 4 times better than you normally do. It's amazing.
and which is pretty amazing. Which is pretty amazing because.
At least I do something I'm meant to be doing,
framing
right?
that.
I know the back. Yeah, I know, but yeah. Excuse the background because we're still cleaning up from Simchas Torah.
It's okay, technically it looks like you're on like a fake wall.
No, we're gonna put a green screen for you.
Oh wow!
It looks like
Should I put on my Superman uniform and I'll do? No, exactly. What are we doing here again? Okay, Tanya. Okay, so in chapter 6, Alter Rebbe started the topic of the forces of impurity. What? Exactly. You know what ADHD stands for?
What?
Attention deficit. Hey, donuts. Don't cut through and cut my chair. So the Alter Rebbe was explaining there are 2 types of concealments of godliness. Everything has godliness. Everything. In order to exist, it has to have godliness. Hamas has godliness. As hard as it is to believe, they exist. It has godliness. But there's some godliness that is workable. You can elevate it. You can channel it. And there's some godliness that's just in exile, life sentence, without parole, never coming out, and therefore God tells us, just refrain. So a Jewish person's neshama, a Jewish person's body, I should say, the energy in a Jewish person's body is nefesh, comes from klipas nega. Klipas nega means the klipa that the godliness can shine through. So, because our spiritual DNA, our genetic makeup is different, our bodies, although on the outside look the same, but they're not. If you put it under a spiritual microscope, I don't know which other words to use, it would look different than a Gentile's body. In the way of what the point I'm getting to is why is a Jew given mitzvahs and a Gentile not? From the outside, a Gentile could put on tefillin, a Gentile could light Shabbos candles. If it's about lighting Shabbos candles, if it's about putting on tefillin, then who cares who does it? It's because a Jew's job is to elevate. So because his body comes from the realm where godliness is able to shine through, therefore he was given the job to elevate the world. So this is where we're going to continue. Chapter 7, page 111 in the old print, page probably 113, yes? Yeah. Nefesh HaChayunis. I just took a guess, but it makes me look very smart when I know the pages in all these different books.
Now you just undid it.
Exactly. But I did stay at a holiday.
You told the truth.
Exactly. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Oh.
Yeah. My wife and I got into a fight. Okay. Nefesh HaChayunis Abahamis. Now, if you notice over here, the Alter Rebbe uses 2 terminologies. Usually it's called the Nefesh Abahamit, the animal soul. Sometimes it's called the Nefesh HaChayunit, the animating soul, or the vitalizing soul. Because it's not exactly the same thing.
What is chiyuni?
It gives life. Chiyut. It gives life. So the fact that it exists, and now the reason why it's usually intertwined with Bahamit animal is because what is the sole purpose of the life of an animal? To sustain and to enhance its existence. So you go over to a regular person, why are you here? What do you mean? Because I got to eat. I got to make sure, that I have a legacy and everything else. It's natural. Again, I want to point out, we said this before, that just because we're calling it Nefesh HaBahamit doesn't mean we're comparing human beings to animals. It's just that human beings, actually in this week's Torah portion, is the book of, we're starting with the book of Genesis, book of Bereshit, and we learned that human beings have similarities to angels and similarities to animals. That's why, by the way, we were given the task to elevate the physical world. It's because we have our feet on the ground and our head in the heaven, so we can go both. Anyway, so you see here, the vitalizing an animal soul of a Jew, shemitzad klippa, which comes from the side of klippa, hamul veshes badam adam l'skael, which we learned in chapter 1. Where is your soul? Your soul is in the blood. Everybody needs blood. And the souls, I mean, over here obviously doesn't mean soul as in the soul of a person. The life force of all the animals that you are permitted to eat, the kiyum and its existence, v'chayus and its vitality, kol hadaimim, of all inanimate objects, v'chol hatzameach and all plant objects. For example, there are plant objects you're not allowed to eat. If you remember, I think we brought up in another class the vera of Arla. Arla is you plant a tree, the first 3 years you're not allowed to eat it. Fourth year, the fourth year you have to bring it to Jerusalem. The 5th year you're allowed to eat it. But now, these days, the 4th year you're allowed to eat it. Right? Teruma. Teruma is, you have to give part of your produce to the Kohen. So for us, not Kohanim, it's forbidden. It's very, very, it's equivalent to eating chametz on Pesach, by the way.
But do we have to do that now?
No.
Yeah.
Not only, I mean,
It's only in the land, isn't it?
it's only in the land, yeah. But also the Kohanim can't eat it either because they're tummy, they're impure.
Yeah.
They have to be, when the Kohen would get teruma, which is the first part of the produce, a farmer harvested his field. So you had to give first a portion to the Kohen, and then a 10% went either to the Levi or to the poor people, depending. There was also two times in the 7-year cycle, he would take a 10% and go to Jerusalem, and everyone would have to throw a massive party.
But didn't they have also a separate one that was like Masarani?
Well, it depends. It's a 6-year cycle. So the first year is Ma'aser Rishon.
Right.
The 10% goes to the Levi.
Right.
Second year is Ma'aser Sheni, which goes 10% you bring to Jerusalem.
Right.
The third year you give it to any poor man, and then what is those 3 years? Now, obviously, during the other 2 years you have to help the poor people too. But that was mandatory. That was a tax. It wasn't. Actually, by the way, there's a story in the Gemara that people treated this 10% idea optional, and it was a certain town that was overrun by it was mice or rat. It was consuming their grain, and no matter what they tried, they brought the best exterminators. They couldn't get rid of it, and they realized it was something supernatural, because no one else was having this problem. They called Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. Pinchas ben Yair, you ever heard of a Pinchas ben Yair? I'm sure you heard of the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, buried in Miron, the famous Lag Bomer guy. That was his son-in-law. If you've been to Tzfat, you know where the Arizal is buried in the mikveh?
Not by the matter, but I know he's
But he's on top of the hill.
buried there.
I love
Yeah.
that mikveh.
It's freezing.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's
I
great.
love it so much.
So he's buried. It's on top of the hill. Pinchas ben Yair is buried all the way in the bottom of the hill.
Right next to the mix.
Does everyone know?
No, but
what
down the
mikveh
hill.
He's talking about.
Yeah.
So there is all while he lived there, he dug out a mikveh from a natural spring that was running in a little cave.
That runs through the mountain.
Yeah, so basically you're using the mikveh that the Arizal was using,
Wow.
and it runs with natural water, like the water.
So the water is constantly being
running
filtered.
out,
Yeah.
it's freezing
Wow.
cold.
'Cause it's coming through, yeah.
Wow.
Talking about mikvehs with an added,
It's great.
yes,
Wow.
It's
mystical,
Oh yeah.
supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
The Ukraine smashed the ice and jumped.
So
in.
by the way, it's interesting you mentioned that. I wasn't going to say it, but since you brought it up, there's a mikveh next to Mezebush, which is
Right.
without Baal Shem Tov. It's called Mayan Baal Shem Tov. The Mayan is the spring of the Baal Shem Tov.
I know Mayan.
I'm sorry, I was going to ask you for the
for
the
your
English word.
maths. Yeah,
The English word wasn't coming to my mind. So I was going to ask you for assistance. I know you know. That's why I was looking at you. So I mean, there's a whole story about it, how it came to be. It's a miraculous story. We don't have to get into that. But let me tell you something. That water is a lot colder than Arizal's water.
I'll tell you something. That water is also a lot less holy.
It is. No, it's not. It's very, very holy. But let
Holy
me tell you.
land and
It's fun.
I'll take.
You
any
take Tzvat.
mikveh in
Yeah.
Israel over any mikveh
Yeah, yeah.
outside.
Anyway, but the water over there in Ukraine is very very cold. Was very cold. Anyway, how do we? So Pinchas Ben Yair, they asked him because he was a great holy man.
You
And he,
should take us on a trip like that.
we are going to Israel.
They're going to
We're going to Poland and Israel. In
Can we
May.
just join the Israel side of the trip?
We're going to Israel for 4 days.
I'm gonna do this after the recording, but I would love to.
Okay, we'll
do
talk about
like
it.
one of these.
We're doing our own
tours
March
with, like, the guys.
Yeah.
Why don't you do a Hebrews team?
Just
Like,
guys?
Just guys, and we'll do one of these things. We'll do like
do like a
whatever.
mikveh run? All
You'll
the
do
different
like a couple of spots. I've never
Baseball
been to
nuts
a
go to
couple
all
of places they
different
probably have
baseball
been.
do a mikveh crawl
I haven't been, man.
across Ukraine.
Morty, do this, please.
Okay.
Let's focus on the Tanya.
You know,
We'll talk
And
about
we'll
Listen.
talk about that later.
Listen.
Talk about some.
Speaking
if-
of mikvahs,
if we-
is your brother's mikvah going to have a place to toivel, kitchenware?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Together, that'd be so
I mean, we're only like 2 lines in. I mean, the rate we're going,
We may not finish.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the
The
longest
first
one
page.
yet.
yeah,
Everyone's gonna be like, wow, 2 hours, and they're gonna watch them. There's nothing here.
exactly.
I know.
It'd be like fast forward, you know.
Literally.
And anyway, okay.
Footnotes.
Anyway, so we went to Pinchas Ben Yair, and he asked them, and he said, "Do you guys give you guys are careful with giving meiser, the 10%?" He said, "Eh." So they said, "Okay, there's your answer. When God tells you to give 10%, He's not asking you; He's telling you. So when God tells us to give tzedakah, when God tells us to do, now He asks us to do it for Him, but it's not. It's a request. When I went to the guy he's talking about parenting. So he said, the guy says, I want to ask my kid to get me a cup of water. So my son answers me. He says, do I have to? Yeah, you do. I asked you, you do it. Like, I asked it in a nice way instead of like, you know, like when Hashem says give 10%, you know, the 10% of the crop, that's not an option. You have to do it. So God's taking it against your will. Anyway, so but we got into this. So there's certain things you're allowed to eat, and certain things you're not allowed to eat. In certain things, for example, inanimate. Let's say a person who serves idols. I didn't want to say a Gentile because most Gentiles today don't serve idols. Are there some? Yeah, but generally speaking, Gentiles don't serve idols. That's why I didn't say Gentiles. You'll notice, by the way, in the Tanya, it doesn't say Gentiles. It says people, the avodat elilim, those who serve the stars. I think I remember correctly. The original text, the Alter Rebbe was thinking about putting in Gentiles, but in the 1700s, all the books were censored. And the Alter Rebbe was afraid, you know, the Russian would flip out when they read what he said, so he changed it to idolaters. They said, okay, we're not. Anyway, but let's say a person who serves idols bows down to a rock or a statue. That statue now becomes forbidden. You can't have any benefit from it. You can't sell it, utilize it in any way. If a Gentile, if an idolater bows down to a tree, you can't walk under the tree for its shade. So all those things that don't fall into that category. So in the previous chapter we spoke about the things that are totally.
Food. What if they pray to some bread?
No, and if they make something a deity, you can't have anything to do with it. That's
No,
why,
like they pray to the
No,
bread.
thing,
Now,
like,
can you eat that bread?
no.
Sort of like I'm leading you, but isn't that what happened with the golden calf, where he broke it into dust and made them all drink it?
No, that's something. No, you're getting into something. I'll answer your question very, very quickly because we already had our share of off track.
Sorry.
No,
Just
no.
letting you know, I got 4 people that want to go on this trip.
Okay. Anyway, so the bread in Ukraine. Anyway, the bread. Stop eating bread in the mikveh in Ukraine.
Mikveh
Right?
crawl. Oh,
So you
the
already
mikveh
had that
crawl.
idea. Okay.
The mikveh crawl. That's what we were calling
Okay.
it. You just named it.
It-
Open it with a group.
You know what's good about Zoom? We can mute everybody. Now we're back in live. Anyway, to answer your question very.
One back.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
okay, in like weeks, so you got a lot
So
of
the-
catching up on like nonsense.
To answer your question very, very quickly, the reason why Moshe did that was because we find in Parshat Naso, in the book of Midbar, if a woman is suspected of cheating on her husband, so there's a whole process in which she's brought to the temple, and part of it is the Kohen writes part of the Torah on the parchment, and they scratch off the ink. And if she's indeed into water, and if she's indeed guilty, so when she drinks the water, she dies. So the people that served the idols, the golden calf in front of two witnesses, they were killed. Capital punishment. The people that weren't witnesses, everybody was made to drink the water. Moshe put the dust into the stream that ran through the calf. If the person worshipped the golden calf and wasn't prosecutable under the law, they would have died. That's why he did that. Anyway. So in the previous chapter, we learned whatever is forbidden and can't be elevated. Now we're learning about what could. Now, continue. And similarly, the existence of vitality of every act, utterance, or thought, regarding mundane matters. There's nothing wrong with it, right? Nothing wrong with it. Baseball, right? Not doing anything wrong, whatever. I mean, even though you can argue baseball is a waste of time and everything else. I'll give you an example that most people, I'm not doing anything bad, right? It's
Watching baseball?
whatever. I'm saying talking about baseball. We're not talking lashon hara. We're not saying dirty, disgusting things. It's just baseball. I mean, again.
On Yom Kippur?
Huh?
I don't know.
Now it says v'lo shorish. The next page. V'lo shorish v'lo anaf b'shasa mitzvah lo taseh, being neither a root or a source from the 365 negative commandments, van fein or their offshoots, because every mitzvah is only a general principle. The 365 negative commandments and the 248 positive commandments, those are only general ideas. Packed in there are all the details. In fact, there's a whole argument between the group, a category of rabbis called the Rishonim. No, there's been a legend forever. A legend, tradition, better word, not legend. The tradition forever is that there's 613 commandments. That everybody knows. The question is, what do you qualify as a mitzvah, and what do you qualify as a subcategory? Maimonides, Nachmanides. I mean, there's a book over there called the Sefer HaChinuch. I mean, in like the 11, 12, 1300s, that's where a lot of the literature was made. How do you count the mitzvahs? So there's some mitzvahs that, like for example, is believing in God a mitzvah. When I say a mitzvah, I don't mean a good deed, I mean a commandment. Is believing in God part of the 613? It's an argument. Maimonides says yes. Nachmanides says no. Nachmanides says it's a prerequisite. It's not a mitzvah. So then, if you take that at party 613, how do you count? So, for example, Maimonides counts Passover mitzvahs differently than Nachmanides. He counts some of them as sub mitzvahs, whatever, and Nachmanides counts it on its own. I'm saying, so every mitzvah is subdivided. Then you have the Doraisa, they have the biblical. Then you have the Rabbanan. Rabbanan are there's seven rabbinical mitzvahs. And then you have not mitzvahs, but you have ordinances, which are different than mitzvahs. A mitzvah is Hallel is a mitzvah. That's a mitzvah. Washing your hands is a mitzvah. We say bracha, right? Megillah. Then there's certain ordinances the rabbis put in place to guard us from violating a biblical mitzvah. For example, not picking up a pen on Shabbos. Muksa on Shabbos. Muksa, things are set aside. So if you can't write on Shabbos, you can't pick up a pen. Now, how do you know? The difference is on mitzvahs, biblical, rabbinical mitzvahs, you make a bracha. On Hallel, you make a bracha. Megillah, you make a bracha, right? Erev, for example, that you know who made Erev? King Solomon made Erev. So and those we make a bracha. So there's mitzvot and there's ordinances, not exactly the same thing. Yeah, what did you say?
Didn't Nachmanides, his daughters, I don't know if it was him or Rashi, the one that had only daughters.
Rashi.
Yeah, and they put on tefillin.
Yeah.
Is that something that is that a commandment, or how would that fall?
Okay, women are definitely not commanded. There's not one authority that says that women are commanded. The general principle is, even though not do it with this, general principle is that women are not commanded in time-related mitzvah. Any mitzvah that's time-related, you have to do it at a certain time. So they're commanded in all 365 negative, and they are commanded in the positive mitzvahs that are not time related, and they are commanded in the positive mitzvah if it's time related but it's tied to a negative mitzvah. So, for example, they have to eat matzah on Pesach because it's tied to not eating chametz. But for example, they don't have to hear the shofar. They don't have to sit in the sukkah. They don't have to.
Can they put
Oh.
the tefillin on?
The simple answer to your question is yes. Now, why do women shake the lulav and not put on tefillin? You might ask. Right? It's seemingly the same thing. But tefillin has always been kind of a man's mitzvah. I once heard from a rabbi. He said, when a woman wants to put on tefillin or wear a talis, for example, we have to ask, why do they want to do the mitzvah? It's not so much doing the mitzvah. Doing the mitzvah is not a problem. It's the approach. Why do you want to do the mitzvah? We're getting off on a separate subject. But, what is it? Because you're looking for equality? That's not a reason to do a mitzvah. So if you're looking for your role in life, learn the Torah. Rashi's daughters were very, very great people. And they're the exception, not the rule. You know who also had a great wife? Well, I'm being recorded, so it's early. But Rabbi Meir had Rabbi Akiva, but as a scholar, Bruria was a scholar. One time Rabbi Meir was out of commission, out of town or something. Bruria gave the class. You mentioned she gave the class to a bunch of rabbis. Tell you who she was. Also, the Maharal's wife. You know that? The Maharal, Rabbi Yehuda Lowy, lived in Prague in the 1500s.
Her dad was a big guy.
Yeah, not only that. So Maharal, he was a nobody,
Right.
and he started learning with his wife quietly, and then so his father-in-law wanted to say, this guy's a loser. My daughter's a great person, but the daughter said no. And they got married, and they had a condition that he had to learn with her every day. So what people didn't know was, because this was the 1500s, people would send to the Maharal questions. He was the leading authority in Europe, Ashkenazic Jewry, Europe, Russia. So any question in philosophy, mysticism, Kabbalah, he would answer. And any question in halacha, she would answer. But he would have to sign it. Because imagine you're a rabbi of a big community, and you get a letter signed, peril, you don't want this. But but she was great. But these people are, meaning when you see a great person doing something, not the point of what I was trying to say is we can't. Oh, you see, he's did it. I can do it also. No, they're great people, and sometimes their calculations are far beyond ours. So there's sometimes that I'll tell you another story, by the way. Rabbi Chani Amagal. You know who Chani Amagal is? You know who Chani Amagal? Chani Amagal is a famous. He's a famous rabbi in the Gemara. Basically, when Israel was going through a drought, they came to Chani and they said, we know that God listens to you. Please pray for us. So he went outside. He drew a circle and he said, God, I'm not stepping out of the circle until you make it start raining. To start drizzling. He says, what do you think I'm playing games with you? Make it rain. So I started like pouring torrentials. He said, no. Not to damage the crop. Make it rain nicely. There's a couple other miracles. So the rabbi said, Chani, we should excommunicate you. Where do you get us speaking to God that way? But God loves you. He listens to you. Obviously, he loves you. So if God doesn't excommunicate you, we can. So I'm trying to say is, just because Chani speaks to God that way, it doesn't mean we no. Anyway.
The Frisco kid. That's what it reminded me
What do you mean?
of.
Right. Exactly. But it's not his department. Right. But just like that, he can change his mind. You ever see the Frisco kid?
But listen, I have to say that at least I think that, you might, we all might not speak to God like Choni every day and all the time, but sometimes maybe yes.
No, I understand. But the point of the story
You have
was...
to give some hope.
Right. No, the point of the story is, the point of the story is that we have to be careful. In general, when you see, there's a concept of Maris Ayin and Halacha. When you see someone doing something and sometimes you can translate it. Let's say a guy went into McDonald's to go to the bathroom. Oh, you see, McDonald's is kosher, you know what I'm saying? Just because you see another person doing something doesn't necessarily mean you can apply it into your life. You have to understand,
You have to take
not saying the circumstances. You know what I'm saying? So Rashi's daughter's put on tefillin, yeah, but my kid ain't Rashi's daughter, okay? So, now, by the way, the Rebbe did say that, but we have to ask Hashem for Mashiach. We have to say Ad Masai till when, and but if you believe in God, the Rebbe said you got to force, you don't stop, and don't take no for an answer. Rebbe said it's chutzpah. It's okay. For this, you can have chutzpah. Yeah.
Okay, so the 365.
Dude, are you talking about Tanya? Do you not see we're not doing this tonight? Okay.
The 365
Yeah.
prohibitive precepts.
Yeah.
So I'm getting confused between precepts and mitzvahs.
No, it's another way of saying mitzvahs. Mitzvah means a
So
commandment.
then
It's a
every
positive
day
commandment.
that I don't go ahead and murder somebody, I've done a mitzvah.
So it's interesting you bring this up, by the way. Do you mind checking the air conditioner to make sure it's like down to like 71?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe on a timer it goes off. I don't know. Thank you. So let me explain to you. There's a discussion about this. Do you get credit for not violating a mitzvah? So one rabbi says, yeah, anytime you don't violate, you get credit. Another rabbi says, no, it doesn't work that way. You only get credit if you have the opportunity and you don't do it, right? So
Makes sense though.
no, because the other side makes sense also. Because if you look at it as
Yeah,
it's violating God's
You're
will,
looking to not do it, and you're like, it's like different than like the other way. It's like if you have the opportunity, like you're faced with the challenge.
no, obviously, if you have the opportunity and you don't do it, it's much greater. Yeah. The question is, are you getting credit, for not doing anything?
Just for like stop. Yeah.
I'm saying because the fact of the matter is, because we're going to learn that doing an avera, it brings, it makes godliness more exiled, more
Right,
concealed,
right.
and the fact that you're not participating in that, and
So
you
it's
allow
like
it.
every second just not doing it, you're like maybe like racking up points. Just
Well,
for,
I mean, when this is off the subject. I mean, we can get into. So we can get in the next section of Tanya if we ever get there. Out there, but talks about when a person misses the opportunity to do a mitzvah. How does it rectified versus if a person introduces negative energy into the world? How is that rectified, right? So if you're not bringing in negative energy, or in more Tanya terms, you're not concealing godliness more, making it harder to bring out the truth, then it's good. I mean, now that's not enough. Obviously, you can't just sit back and do nothing. You have to be an active participant in making the world, dang it, I didn't kill anybody today. I didn't rob a bank. Thank you, but what have you done to make the community better? I mean, not just. I'm not robbing anybody. I mean, in general, in the Western society, that's one of the biggest problems, I think. As long as I'm not hurting anybody, I can do whatever I want. Judaism says, no. We have a much higher expectation for people.
right.
Meaning we want you to be a positive force, not just.
Like in the background.
My wife calls
If
it
you-
a
if-
full-time job.
If you drive in Hialeah and you come out calm after a half a dozen people have cut you off on 103rd, then I think you did a mitzvah.
Very specific.
Actually,
Ira, I have a couch. You want to lay down and talk about it?
No, I actually learned that if you stop yourself from like going at it,
Yeah, no.
the angels are listening to you.
Today's Tanya. Today's Tanya out there talks about not losing your temper.
Yeah.
Today's Tanya. Anyway, let's go.
All right.
So although, let's go back to the bad news, right? So here we talk, okay, I'm not violating anything. I'm not introducing negative energy. So he said, although I'm not violating anything. Rak she'ein l'shem shemayim. But I'm not doing it for bad purposes, but I'm not doing it to serve God. It's not for the sake of heaven. Now, being that a Jew is an employee, that's exactly how you look at it. Well, not a Jew. Every person is an employee, but a Jew specifically, because a Jew was given a job. So, as an employee, you're on the clock, which means every moment you have to be accountable. So, just to say, I don't know, If a boss goes by a cubicle and the guy's not watching March Madness, right? Or they had a fake spreadsheet you can put up. You're not watching the baseball playoffs. You're just sitting there daydreaming. So what are you doing? No, just dreaming. What do you mean? I don't pay you to dream. I pay you to produce. So that's what it means. Everything we do has to serve the purpose of God's plan, which is basically Torah and mitzvot. Now again, just want to point out, it doesn't mean you're not taking care of yourself physically, because you need a healthy body. We spoke about this. I can't remember when, but the Mezrit Shemagid said a small hole in the body causes a large hole in the soul. You can't serve God if you're not healthy. A person has to be healthy. Be clear, right? Napoleon. You have to, right? Ella. So why is he doing it?
Tomorrow I'll be working.
Yeah. Ella only. Ratzain haguf. Why is he doing it? He's doing it because of the will and lust of the body. I want a Napoleon. Why am I eating it? Because I want it. It's good. Right? That's why I'm eating it.
It's conquered me.
It's
I
godly.
didn't have dessert with dinner.
Right. And obviously you have to. But now the Alter Rebbe is going to make matters even worse. Meaning, forget you're doing it for no reason, right? No doctor ever said, you need to have an eclair, right? You're missing in your life. That doctor would be
A lot cooler.
exactly a lot of patience, right?
Believe me, they sell you other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Not so good for you.
So I prescribe to you Scotch, eclair.
I'm sorry. I meant eclairosol.
Exactly.
It's for that thing on your neck.
By the way, I once read a line from a comedian. Says, "I want to live in the commercials of medications. Everyone seems so happy in those."
Side effects as well.
Exactly. Rage.
You see, you said eclairamine.
Exactly. If you feel your heart coming out of your chest. So number one is you're just doing it, right? You're doing it because, as I say in Hebrew, bali. Bali means I want. Kacha. I feel like it. Right? That's a low level. Then there's a better level. Even if it's for the need of the body. Why are you eating? Because I need to eat. What do you need to eat? What do you mean, why do I need to eat? I need to eat. His intent is not for the sake of heaven, in order to serve Hashem. The famous story, which we'll say now, and we're going to repeat it many times, because it's a very powerful story. The Rebbe Maharash, the Shmuel of Lubavitch, his two sons were outside when they were younger, and his two sons were having a discussion. What is the purpose of life? Or is there a difference between a Jew and a Gentile? And is the approach for life? So the Maharash heard them, called them over, and then he said, there was a man who worked in the house. He was a wagon driver. His name was Ben Zion. And he asked Ben Zion, says Ben Zion, says, why do you? He says, you work today? Yeah, I worked. Why do you work? It's like I have money. And why do you money? So I can. It's like I can eat. And why do you eat? So I live. But why do you live? So he says, why do you live? Live to serve Hashem. Thank you. You dismissed. There was another guy in the. There's another guy. It's spiked oranges. No. Yeah. There was another guy in the house. He was like a repairman, whatever it is. The Gentile's name was Ivan. Called him in Ivan. You work? Yeah. Why? Why do you work? He says, to make money. He says, I can live. And what's life? Life is when I get off, I go to the pub, I have a sandwich and a swig of vodka. That's life. The Rebbe Maharash told us to see, that's what it is. And I got bad news for you guys. If you're caught up in your self-importance,
Not today.
not today.
Not today.
If you're caught up in your self-importance, I got bad news. You're worthless. You as a person,
Real bad news is.
you as a person, you're worthless. I mean, you're only as good as your contribution. So if the whole reason why you're eating is so you can exist, to make sure, we're always thinking about the next meal, right? I'm eating breakfast. I want to eat more because I need room for lunch, right? It's a whole. So when you're doing that, but it's not so you can be productive, so you can serve Hashem. He says lo yadife. So when he does that, if he's not eating like a human being, an animal eats in order to live, in order to sustain his being. So if a person does the same thing, how is he better than an animal? You're just another animal. You're an animal that walks on 2 feet.
He's not.
Huh?
He's not better than an animal.
Not only he's not better, we're going to learn in a second, he's worse than the animal.
Because he has a free.
Because he has intelligence, right? You know, connecting it to this week's Torah portion, connecting it to this week's Torah portion, the human being was created last. Why was the human being created last? The Gemara gives two opposing views. It says, because when you invite a guest, you make sure everything's ready for them. Not like we started off the Tanya class, and then we started bringing out the eclairs and Napoleon. Usually, when you invite a guest, everything's ready for them. So too, Hashem created the world for human beings to do good. So first He created everything else, and then, that's only if a human being acts like a human being. If a being acts like an animal, bless you, then we tell them, Mister, you know what was created before? The lowest creature in the world. We're gonna talk about this in Tanya. Is a yitush. Yitush is a gnat, like a mosquito, a gnat. Which why is it the lowest creature?
Because it only takes in, it doesn't give out.
Right. It only takes in, doesn't give out. That's the epitome of tumah. Tumah is me, all me. Impurity is me. Right? Holiness is giving. God's giving. Impurity is always taking. Holiness is always giving. A yitosh is always taking, doesn't give. So we say, listen here. You think you're special? Yitosh was created before you on day 5. You created day 6. You're nobody. So the question is, why are you here? You here just to enhance your existence? Then you're just another animal. You're just another statistic. And bottom of the page on 112, and I'm sure where it is. Va'koil kasher lechol nishpa v'nimshach medrikas hashenis shebeklipa tzitrach, and everything, the totality flows. It's drawn from the second level of klipa. She klipa revius and nikras klipas nega. Now, although the guy is not acting like he's supposed to, he still is not totally immersed in impurity. Why? Because remember we said in the previous class, you can't change what you are. If something's impure, it's impure. If something's holy, it's holy. You can't change what you are. Now, sometimes a person cannot realize their own potential. A person can act not unbecoming an officer. So what does he do? He looks like a shmata. But what are you going to? Is he a shmata? No. You know what a shmata is?
Yes.
I don't know, because the Yemenites.
I'm a rocket.
But I ever told you the story of the kid who the boy went a little bit meshuggah and convinced himself he was a turkey. Ever tell you that one?
You did.
Yeah.
There's new material for me, Rabbi.
All right, so
Continue.
very quick.
Tell it.
And for the YouTubes, please.
For the YouTubes. So basically, quickly, this kid went a bit meshuggah, went a little crazy, convinced himself he was a turkey. So he took off his clothing, and he hit. It's 9:30. Alexa, Genesis 1.
Okay.
So cool.
Okay.
And by the way, this week's Torah portion.
Yeah.
Gotta say, I'm feeling very divine.
I was thinking that first aliyah yesterday.
You missed it.
Okay.
You could have done that all on camera.
Anyway, so actually, it's true. I could have screamed it from here.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he crawled to the table, took off his clothing, and they bring psychologists. No one's getting through. Finally, one guy comes and says, older guy says, "I can get through." So what does he do? He takes off his clothing and goes under the table. And the kid goes to him, "What are you doing here?" So, "What are you doing here?" So the kid says, "I'm a turkey." "I'm a turkey too." So they keep eating. After a couple of days, the guy, he signals for a shirt. So he puts on a shirt. The kid said, "Why are you wearing a shirt?" He says, "Who state? Where does it say a turkey can't wear a shirt? Show me where it says." The kid says, "You're right." He also puts on a shirt. Then after a couple of days, he's, "Give me pants." He says, "Why are you wearing pants?" And slowly but surely, he ate from a plate. And finally, the point is, he was always a person. But he, in his stupidity, in his craziness, he thought he acted like a turkey. So even when a person, a Jew, does something wrong, and he acts like he shouldn't, and he's all dressed up as, from the outside, as as a person he shouldn't, that doesn't mean he doesn't have the potential for holiness. It doesn't mean he doesn't have the ability to correct and to fix what he did. I was by this event, the prayer event. So before the event, I was putting on film. Oh, woo!
You'll never make it.
There you go. So I went over to an older gentleman. The guy must have been in his 50s, 60s. I asked him, "You want to put on film?" He says, "I can't." I said, "Why not?" I was never bar mitzvahed. So I thought, well, maybe he's not Jewish. Are you Jewish?
This is recent? Like, this is.
It happened today.
It happened
Oh,
today.
no way.
Yeah. So I actually posted a picture of it on my status. So I said, "Are you Jewish?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Put on tefillin." But I was never bar mitzvahed. I said, "Just because you didn't have a party when you're 13." It says, if you're over 13, it says, and you put on tefillin. I said, "Are you over 13?" Obviously, yeah. So we put tefillin. Yeah, exactly. It's like until this time he was walking around with this idiot idea that you can't put on tefillin because he never had a party.
You open the plug for him.
No, I'm saying the point is that the Jew always has the ability to elevate. He can descend, but he's not stuck there. So it's saying, although he goes down, he goes on to klippas nega, to the klippa that shines, to the holiness it's fine. Real holiness is found in there. Sheba olam haza, in this world, nikra olam hasiya, in which this world, which is called the world of action, rubui kulira. The vast majority is bad. Now, what does the ra mean here?
Yeah,
Ra doesn't mean over here Hamas. Ra doesn't mean North Korea.
It says evil.
I understand. I know what the translation is, but evil. See, so Maya and Ra, you got me back. Okay, we're even now. Ra over here means concealment of godliness. If you can't see the truth, that's bad. That's what it is. The fact that everything gets its energy from godliness, you can't see it. That's bad. Rak me'at tov me'uvrav b'tocha. Now, again, going back to this week's parsha. This week's parsha, the tree that was in the middle of the gan, the tree that was in the middle of the garden. What was that tree? Et hadat tov ra, the tree of knowledge of good and bad. What happened when Adam ate from this tree? By the way, what happened when Adam ate from? What was he before? So it's explained in Kabbalah.
He had no will.
That before Adam ate from the tree, everything was objective. It was emet and sheker, true and false. True and false are not subjective. That's what it is. Good and bad are subjective. That's exactly what they are. So Adam thought to himself, I can be like God, meaning I can be objective and subjective simultaneously. And Hashem says it doesn't work that way. It says, because a human being, once good and evil are mixed in, it skews your whole view of everything. That's why Hashem told him not to eat from it. So in this world, going back to the same example. Hashem told him not to eat from the tree. Why did he eat from the tree?
He told them when you'll eat.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to get into that side of the conversation. I know. Lo tachal mimenu, ki b'yei mechol mimenu, my stomach. Yeah, I know.
It was all about
I know.
taking accountability
Right,
for
but let's
free will.
right, but let's
having
let's leave it at its simple. No, let's leave it at its simple. No, because he's saying I don't want to get into the conversation. It's already late. But basically, the commentaries have a very big problem with the way God frames the commandment. It's very, very confusing. The first half of the verse, God says, "Don't eat from it." Second half of the verse says, "And on the day you do eat from it." So which one is it? Eat or don't eat? But let's take it up.
the free will.
Yeah, I'm saying so. But let's take it on. God told him not to eat from the tree. Okay, not to eat from the tree, because the tree is bad mixed with good, and God says stay away from it. Shemimena, that from this minute amount of good within the klipa noga baot mida tovat shebenefesh habamis yisrael come the good qualities. That a Jew has. We'll finish this note, and then we'll adjourn for today. As explained in the first chapter, the Jews' inherent qualities of compassion and benevolence stem from his animal soul. Okay, so talking about it, the nations have taken advantage of this. The Jews are by nature compassionate and benevolent. This is backed up. There are no people more philanthropic than the Jewish people. It's not even close. You saw what's going on in Israel now? What they're giving away? I saw a video as a soldier. So he's sitting there. He takes a video. It's like, yeah, we're here. We're watching the border, and yeah, everything's okay. And what else? What else? What do we need? He leads back in his car. Absolutely nothing. You guys are crazy. Stop sending stuff. He had a whole car, like a hatchback, full of food and stuff. He's like, stop. And it was. I posted a video of them making a barbecue.
Everyone jumped to it right away.
Yeah.
I have, like a lot of friends that donated a ton of stuff.
Yeah. I'm saying, but that comes from our natural self. That's not godly. That's just
What this is the God.
no. I'm
This
saying,
is
but
the
I'm saying,
thoughts, right?
no. I'm saying, but that's it. No, the fact that we are united together and we automatically sense our unity, that's godly. But the fact that a Jew is more benevolent by nature, that's not godly. That comes from Klippas Naga, because the good is the godliness is shining through. It's automatic. This is the soul of Klippa. Yet, because its origins are in
What do you mean
Klippas,
it's klipa noga?
Klippas Noga means it's translucent. The godliness can shine through. Klippa, it's covered, but Noga, the godliness can shine through.
Gotcha.
It gives rise to good traits of compassion and benevolence. Now, since Klippa Noga is a mixture of good and evil, any action, utterance, and thought emanating from this Klippa can be utilized for good or for evil. Is Napoleon good or bad? Depends how you utilize it. Indeed, as the Alter Rebbe will explain, the very action, utterance, or thought may be holy if done for the sake of heaven, or evil if otherwise intended. So just to leave off with this idea. Next week you're gonna have to remind me where we're holding, because there's no date. So the Alter Rebbe just now laid down the line, drew a line in the sand. There's good, there's bad, and then there's what you decide it's gonna be. Torah is holy. You can't change it. What's bad, what's impure is impure. You can't change it. The question is, how are you going to utilize that energy from that Napoleon now? That's up to you. That's Klippas Nega. Questions or on anything we discussed tonight? All right, guys, have a good week. I think it's time.